DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Good morning, everyone. It is a lovely Monday morning, and it's time to talk business. It's time to talk marketing. It's time to talk improving your DJ business with the one and only Justin Miller. Good morning, Justin.
Hi, John. How are you today?
I'm doing well, doing very, very well. We're going to talk ways of automating our systems when it comes to our business, and that's an area in which I'm really excited to talk about today because there's a lot of cool things that can be done and done by itself, so I can sit back and enjoy my tea under the shade tree. I'm loving it.
Well, it's my favorite topic. I think part of it's because I'm kind of lazy.
I was going to go there, but that's really my motivating factor.
Hey, I'll go right there. I have no problem telling you how it is. And things I wasn't lazy for, I had staff in place, but their job was easier too, because as much as we possibly could, there were systems and automation in place. So we can share some of those today.
That sounds great. So just to kind of set the table now, what areas are we going to be covering when we're talking today? And then we'll dive into each.
I'm going to talk about 3 key pieces of automation that I think everyone should have. Now, we'll probably get on tangents and I'll share a bunch more too that we had, but the 3 key ones are an immediate inquiry response sequence, a long-term nurture type sequence, and an automated feedback system.
Very nice. Very nice. Let's dive into it.
All right. So it doesn't sound too sexy, obviously.
They don't.
This is really the...
They'll get you, that just gives you guys a kind of an idea and a blueprint of our show for today. And now we're going to get into it and show you why those topics and areas are valuable to you.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the core of what ran my company. And frankly, when we did Photo Boost, when we added that to our company, having this already in place is what allowed us to just jump right in and take over the market with those. So having this type of system and automation in place, regardless of what you use to accomplish it, by the way, is important. So let's jump into inquiry response. So what happens when someone inquires with our company? A lot of our inquiries come through our website. In fact, the vast majority. Someone fills out a web form and wants more information. In our case, that happens to be a price quote request, but it's whatever it may be in your company. You need a way to follow up immediately. So by the way, our price quote request was sample packages, and then we'd customize beyond that. But when people want information, they want it right now.
Yep.
This is online. You guys are getting this right now. If you wanted a piece of information, say I mentioned something, you go to the box, you Google it, you have it. So we have to give people what they want, when they want it, not hide it. So price was the best one we ever found. We tried a lot, but price quotes seemed to really work. People would fill it out to give us a lot of information to get that. There's one key word, though, that if it was missing, it didn't work. Any idea what that might be? It was instant. So fill out this form for a price quote. An instant wasn't enough.
Yeah.
If they thought they were going to have to wait, hours or days for you to get back to them, they wouldn't do it. And however, when it said, hey, this is going to come back instantly as soon as you fill this out, all of a sudden people are willing to do it. And I've noticed that on my own behavior too when I shop
for sure.
online.
I was just thinking about it. I was looking at some software last week, and it's like, click for price. It's like, oh yeah, then I'm gonna have a salesperson call me in 3 days.
Yeah. Well, we get kind of annoyed. We have to fill it out anyway, right?
Oh, exactly. When you mentioned getting a lot of information to get the quote, and I'm thinking to myself, how many are looking at it? It's like, oh my gosh, name, email, and city. Oh, that's way too much to type.
Yeah. Oh God, I had quite a few forms on ours, depending on which form it was. But yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, they really wanted that piece of information, so they were willing to do it, and they knew they'd get immediate gratification. They know what they were. And if you didn't follow up with them, I don't recommend this, but if you knew you weren't going to call them, go ahead and put it there. Hey, we won't call you, we won't bug you, whatever. I suggest you do, but get the automation in place first.
Mm-hmm.
So what would happen immediately after they filled that out is immediately they get an email. And what was in that email was really simple. It was a brief intro to our company, and we attached a PDF of our most common packages. And then we would have some text in there that reminded them that, hey, these are starting points. We customize everything. If something doesn't quite match, email us back. If you want us to double check if your date's available, email us back. The whole goal is to get them to respond at some point and actually start a conversation. So filling out the form is not a conversation.
Yep.
That they realize, okay, the vast majority realize it's going to be automated. We got a lot of responses. People thought we really sent that right away, but I don't recommend presenting it that way. People are pretty smart now, but they don't care. They're willing to deal with automation and robots to get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
So we fill that out, and then what happens is we wait. The system waits in somewhere between 1 and 3 days, and we send a follow-up. And the follow-up's really all it says is, hey, did you get it? Just wanted to make sure you did. If not, it's attached. If you did get it, no need to reply unless you need something. And then we wait like 7 more days, and then we have another follow-up. Hey, I know you're kind of busy. You're probably just researching your event now and gathering a lot of information. If you want to set up an appointment, here's a link to do so. Or get back with us, when you can. And we'd have maybe one more email like that a couple weeks later. And that's all it would be. 3 or 4 emails spaced out. Very simple, and actually very simple to accomplish with tons of different technologies that can do it. But the problem is, if you don't have that automated and you get, say, 5 inquiries over the course of a week, I mean, how long do you think you can manage? Okay, this person's getting email 1 today. This one is getting email 3. Then tomorrow, someone's on email 7. You can't do it.
Oh, for sure. Now you mentioned in that the time frame that you'd have it, and then you'd follow up at whatever the day, your sequence of contacts and such. Now I've had somewhere I've gone and I've requested information and they start hitting you, and I've had one of them I ran into like every 6 hours for the first 2 days. I couldn't believe it. I mean, what kind of a recommendation with those contacts when following up? Have you had better success with different gaps?
Yeah, I mean, so we're event people, so we have a little more knowledge, and everyone else does too. So it depends what you were looking at, John. If you were looking at an item that I know someone typically buys within 24 hours, yeah, I'll hit you every 6 hours. However, if we take a wedding, for example, we know that some are going to, come out the gate hot and they're going to book, and then a lot of them are just going to wait. So you have to balance that. So yeah, ours was typically day 1, day 4, day 11, and then like day 15, 28, somewhere in there.
Sure.
But yeah, we knew that buying cycle was a little longer. If you're selling something that the buying cycle is a lot quicker, compress it for sure. And those emails would be smaller too, because you're not going to read long emails every 6 hours.
Yeah, for sure. It's basically, hey, don't forget your cart.
What were you trying to buy, John?
Actually, it was with a couple of different things. One of which was now that you mentioned it, the buying cycle, it was for a weekend only sale. Is I went and looked, and then you put it in your cart to go check, and it was a hard drive from a website. And I put it in a cart, and I was like, oh, that's a little more than I want to spend on it. And I abandoned the cart. So then you get the email with your cart. And then you get the email, hey, did you forget about us? Hey, the sale's still going on. Don't forget about it. And I think over the weekend I had 4 or 5 emails that came in from between late Friday night and through Sunday. So
they probably felt they had nothing to lose. I could argue the other side of the coin too if you're a long-term customer for them, but it's a little different in our case here.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you differentiated that. The buying cycle is so important to be aware of, because that could even change within some of the differences between selling a DJ service and selling something, a secondary service. Maybe if you were doing just the photo booth, that might have a different buying cycle.
Absolutely, and the customers will respond. If you're emailing them too often, they'll let you know. Those of you that are on my email list, if I start emailing you a little too often, I get responses back, so they'll let you know. And if they aren't, play around, see what gets you the best results. That's all you can do. But yeah, our general always was gaps of about 3 days, 7 days, 10 or 14 days.
Very nice.
So that really is all that was inquiry response. Now, we may or may not team up phone calls in there too. We may have outbound calls going on. Depends on how valuable whatever they inquired about was. So if it wasn't worth a lot of money to us and not worth the labor, we didn't. If it was, we would. So it's all about value of the lead, what the buying cycle is, and your own resources. So I had sales staff, so this allowed them to focus only at where they were really needed. They weren't sending emails that could be automated. In fact, they weren't making the choice of who they called. That was all automated based on criteria I had set as well, and it would create a list for them each day. So there you go. There's tangent number one, is we could bring calling up and lead scoring. All right, so that's any questions about inquiry response. It seems really easy, but a lot of people don't have anything like this, or you're doing it manually and trying to manage it manually, which if you want to grow at all, it's just not feasible. Or if you want to go to a expo or a bridal show or something like that and exhibit, and you get a flood of leads all at once, from day one, it's not manageable.
So this automation, in order to do this now, because I use Infusionsoft, this is exactly what would be my go-to tool to use that. Now, are there other tools besides Infusionsoft that would allow a person to be able to manage that kind of
Yeah, so
process?
this little piece of the puzzle I'm sharing right now, an autoresponder software could do. And there are countless of them, and autoresponders are dirt cheap. Now, when we get into more complicated things, I tell you, the autoresponder doesn't work anymore. But if this is where you're at, square one, you want to put something in place, autoresponder would do it. And one autoresponder I recommend is Aweber. It can do it. AWEBER.com. It's like $10 a month, maybe. So that's somewhere to start.
And I guess it depends on also how you're grabbing that lead, that information. In one particular case, in my situation on my website, I have DJ Event Planner set up, and they can go and request that information. And then I have a couple of emails, follow-up emails that are scheduled. So I suppose it could work the same way, as long as you've got them scheduled. And
yeah, so that might even be able to handle this piece of the automation puzzle for you.
Right.
You might already have a tool in place that can do it, and you're not taking advantage of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would definitely, and again, that auto responding stuff is there. I know to a level, it doesn't have quite the same workflow as Infusionsoft, but
sure,
it definitely can do it.
Well, this piece is easy. This is the easy piece.
Yeah.
Then we get a little more complicated. Let's move on to number 2 here, and this is the long-term nurture sequence, I call it. And this is all based around the theory that people buy when they're ready to buy, and we need to be in front of them when they're ready to buy. So long-term nurture, and I'll use weddings as an example, as I often do, because it's my easy go-to. Long-term nurture for our wedding company, after they finished all those other automated, those like 3 or 4 automated response emails, they would move into this long-term nurture sequence. And what this was wedding tips. It wasn't talking about our service over and over. It wasn't a sales pitch over and over, but it was a series of wedding tips sent via email once a week for however long you want to program. I think ours went 7 months at least. And it was just giving them little useful information that they might read and they might get a little nugget out of here and there. And then just little subtle calls to action, like in the PS. If you're looking, reply back. I'll be happy to help. If you want to check a date, and we do that every once in a while. And that's all it was. But when we did that right, you would get a reply, and it would happen quite often. I mean, the new owner that I sold my company to this year was really surprised he was getting replies to emails as if he had sent them. But you get a reply, and all of a sudden someone would say, hey, I'm ready to book, or hey, can you check this date again for me? Or hey, can we set up a meeting now? And this was 5 months after they inquired with the company.
Wow.
In some cases, it was up to a year later. And there's good and bad. The beautiful part is, at that point, we're pretty much the only one following up anymore.
For sure.
So unless they restart their search and kind of reboot their search and go online and redo all the homework again, if they don't do that, which most people don't, all of a sudden we're probably like one of 1 or 2 companies that they're even thinking about.
Right.
And they haven't even talked to us, haven't even met with us.
I love the idea, and this is something when you're studying human behavior, is just having your name in front of them. That branding, and this to a point would become that, because people they'll start to forget maybe some of the aspects, but they'll just remember the name when it pops up, and they're like, oh yeah, hey, I remember seeing something about them. Well, yeah, it's because you saw an email last month, and now you saw one earlier this month, and now you're seeing one at the end of the month, and it starts to eventually get to the point where, yeah, I've heard of them before. They must be the ones to go with.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that, because there's 2 areas I really study: marketing strategy and behavioral psychology, and they're kind of one and the same when you turn the terminology around a little bit.
Very much so.
But that's really what we're trying to do, is affect people and how they behave. So we do that, and yeah, leads roll in. Now, the bad part, someone's got to write all those emails one time.
And make sure that there aren't any typos and they make sense.
I don't care about typos, honestly. Then they just believe I actually sent it. but yes, there has to be some value to them. So you have to think that out and do that, or find someone like me that already has it. You can just click a button and you magically have it. So yes, you do have to do that. Depending on the software, sometimes you only have to be one step ahead though. So don't let that stop you. You probably only have to type one a week and just stay ahead of that customer, or just put them all in up front. But most people aren't going to spend the time to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So even your competitors with tools in place still won't have it because they're not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the long-term nurture might look a little different for other service types. Weddings is very easy because we can keep sending them tips. We know it's a longer buying cycle. And we know weekly works pretty good. But if we're going for a different event type, different service, we have to once again balance how often they might be of value, how often they're thinking about it. And that's really key, is how much they're already thinking about it. We're just trying to pop in their conversation that they already have going on in their head. So weddings, yeah, they're thinking about it, even if it's passive and they're not actively searching. If it's like a corporate event, not probably thinking about it all day.
For sure.
Up front a lot, and then we just need to be there in case they're going through the process with a committee or something like that.
And going into other industries just for a second, just so people will have that comparison, and I've heard people talk about specifically car purchases, that once you purchase a car from a dealership, and if you have a positive experience, obviously you're likely to come back and purchase the next one. And then I've heard different numbers. I've heard that they basically just do little reminders, and then at year 3 is when all of a sudden you'll see a bump in their contact, because they know by the 3rd year you're starting to think about maybe the next generation of car.
Yeah, and it's a high transactional sale too, so they can afford to put some money in behind it. Probably aren't going to push people for their second weddings.
Yeah, it's it's just to show a difference in the
but
buying,
you know what, it
cycle.
actually does happen.
But that buying cycle it varies depending upon what you do. Obviously, if I'm a restaurant, that I know that people like to come in, and they come in, twice a month. Well, they came if I had everything, they're into my followers, what have you, is that I would know then how I would want to send out specials and invites that, for the people
if I had a more transactional business like that, where they're back over and over, I'd take it a step further and we would break it down by how often they buy, and then when that pattern changes, we could hop in there. But now we're at like level 8 automation.
Yeah, I mean that's some pretty.
But that does exist, yeah. And then we do have to know that cycle and try and adapt to it. And the other reason you see that follow up with the cars and whatnot is because obviously it's much cheaper to keep a current customer than to get a new one, and pretty easy to do so. Real estate agents, same thing. High transaction value, low frequency, but worth it to stay in front of them. We would put people on a print newsletter, a physical newsletter mailed out every month, our customers, and we would leave them on there pretty much for life because it cost us about $1 a month to do so, and we had a high enough margin in our transactions that if they referred us, we were golden. If the number came out to something ridiculous, it was like if they send us a job or refer us a job once every 40 years, it was profitable. So until we lost track of them, they were getting it.
They were going to get that. Before we go too much farther, I had someone question about that automation cycle, especially the beginning one. If someone had replied to the email and basically said, "Hey, Justin, we've already booked a DJ," what did you do with them at that point?
That's a very specific response, so we would remove them, and we have one button that would do that. I'll give you a little more beyond what I was going to. The next step then is if we did what in Infusionsoft was called a tag. We would tag them as DJ lost job. And the tag is just a label, but things happen based on that. So we would tag them as DJ lost job, and it would kick off an email that sends them a 1-question survey, which is basically, why'd you hire someone else? And gives them some reasons why they should bother filling this out, lets them know it's only going to take 10 seconds. And do you want like the ninja tactic that I really do on that? They think this is an anonymous survey because when they go and fill out the survey, they don't have to put any of their information, but it is tracked back to them, and I know who they were when they filled that out, so we can figure out why. And not most, but a fair amount of people will do that for us, and then we can keep an eye on what competitors are doing and why we're losing business.
Which is definitely good information, especially when
and then it automatically takes them out of that follow-up, by the way, when I do that as well.
You mentioned, of course, that nurturing area, which you would continue to do. Would you still put them into that list also, so they would still get some kind of a regular contact monthly or what have you?
It depends. If I have another service to possibly sell, yes. If that was my only service was DJ services and I believe their response, they book someone else, then no. Because eventually, if they really don't want to hear from you and you're sending them, you're going to get spam complaints and you're going to have, you're going to open a can of worms for other issues.
Good point.
Which our magic number in Infusionsoft is 1 in 1,000 emails. So if you send out 1,000 emails and you get more than one spam complaint, there's a department that you get to deal with.
Oh my!
Because we want people's emails to go through,
Mm-hmm.
and you want your emails to be delivered, and that's tough. Should we move into number 3?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, number 3 is the feedback sequence. So after the event, what do we do? You should have some sort of customer feedback. I don't care how low tech it is, but some sort of survey form they fill out that lets you know how the heck you're doing, how you can improve. Let me see if I can I'm going to see if I can screen share on here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It might ask you for permission, I'm guessing.
No, I don't think so. There we are. We are up. I can see your screen. I can see Infusionsoft, the back end here.
All right. So you're seeing my campaign builder where we do fun stuff. And I'm going to show you one that we just put together that's automated a lot of things that used to be manual. So this is going to look like nonsense to those of you that have never seen the program. So I will explain what's going on. Because this is like 101, not show you the software because it doesn't mean anything till you're in there building. But this is a tag. It's representing tags. So we have an event completed tag, and that's what kicks off the automation. So this is an automation, if you will. So we tag them as event completed, which, by the way, I could automate if I wanted, but we just have an office person every Monday go in there and update these. And then it takes them into a request feedback sequence, which if I click in here, I can see I have 3 emails, and I spaced them 10 days apart. So we're not bugging them excessively, but we do want their feedback. Okay, and I'll show you the email just so you can see how simple they are. It's just let us know what you thought. The subject line, your opinion matters. Thanks for using our services. Hope you enjoy our day. Fill out feedback here. Click it, blah, blah, blah. And give them some reasons why this is important to you. It's important for our business. It influences how we change things and how we reward our staff with pay raises. That was the best phrase I've ever put in there.
What a motivation for we loved our DJ, man.
If they loved their DJ or hated their DJ, this is where they get to sound off because this affects their pay, which it really does. And then we bribe them as well, by the way. If they fill it out, we send them a Starbucks gift card.
Nice.
And it's not for good feedback, it's for any feedback.
Yes.
So request number 2 is going to be pretty much the same thing as is request number 3. And you could build out more beyond that, and we have before, because people are busy right after the wedding, their honeymoon.
Can you go back to request 1, please?
Yes.
Now, on that page, there is the link right there. Now, when they click that link, does that take them out of that sequence that we're looking at?
Let me show you. It does not until they actually submit the feedback.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So let me take you back here. So that link is actually referring to this right here, which is a form.
And just for those watching, what we're looking at is the back end of Infusionsoft. Think of it as kind of a train going down the tracks, for lack of a better way to describe it. And when there's different things that can be put on the train, tags, and there's times where when they will decide to take a spur, they'll click on something and it'll become like a spur off the tracks and take you a different direction. That's what we're kind of looking at right here.
Yep. So this is where we're trying to get them to go, which is the web form. And you will see it doesn't ask their information anywhere. And that's because I already have it. And when they click that link, it knows who they are. But this is a pretty generic one. And you've probably seen all these questions before. It's, the scale of 5, how satisfied, yada, yada, yada. And we have a couple of boxes. We try and get good testimonials, which I'll give you some of the wording we use for that. This is a really important one for us. What's the primary reason you chose to do business with our company? It's also one we ask right after they book, by the way. That's the best time to get that one. Here's a good one to get real feedback. When someone says, it's great, it's great, it's great, it's great, it's great. When we ask the question this way, we get things that can help us. It says, be honest and don't worry about hurting our feelings. What can we do better?
Nice.
So we will get we used to mail out feedback forms, and we still do sometimes, but that was a 2-page form, and it would all be perfect. Couldn't do anything better. And then they get to that question, they finally would come up with something that was useful to me, because I wanted critical feedback.
And that sometimes can be a good thing and sometimes a bad thing, because they'll be like, okay, wow, everything is, if it was a perfect day, and what can we do better? And they're going to be like struggling. It's like, okay, they're asking, I got to come up with something. Well,
I'm okay with that.
It sometimes it's something that was so that it didn't occur to them until maybe later, or
yeah.
I had one.
Well, I mean, and you'll be able to read it and see whether it's a serious issue or not.
Yeah.
But we've gotten a lot of good ideas out of there, is why I use that.
Sure.
This maybe you could have done this during planning, and then we implement those. And after you do that for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that's how you fill all the holes in your business.
Oh, for sure. I would highly recommend it. It's just, as you say, kind of evaluate it and be, don't get all upset about it, but just look at it and say, okay, is this a legitimate thing that I need to be looking at in depth? Or were they, stretching and thinking, oh, well, if he would have just, had a bright red tie instead of a dark red tie, it would have worked much better.
Right. And then there's one question here that I borrowed from Peter Murray a long, long time ago, compared to other similar services, are worth more than you paid, exactly, or less than you paid. That's a really important one to you. And figuring out whether that critical feedback was serious or not, there's a box down here they can check if they want us to contact them regarding their feedback. So if they're ticked off and something was bad, they'll check that, and it actually alerts our staff to call them. It creates a task for them. There's one other magic thing going on in here, though, I want to show you. And that has to do with the answers to this very simple question: how satisfied or dissatisfied are you? If we call this a scale of 1 to 5, very dissatisfied to very satisfied, some unique things happen based on what they click to this question.
Okay.
So if they click on very satisfied, which, let me see if I can get you in here. You're seeing the back end, so don't worry if you don't catch the tech. But if they click on very satisfied, it applies a tag. And we call them feedback positive. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, by my definition, then, the next 3 of those, somewhat satisfied and neither satisfied nor dissatisfied, or somewhat dissatisfied, are applying a neutral tag. And very dissatisfied applies a negative tag. Now, why would I do that? Because we can treat people differently based on the response to that question.
For sure.
And this has to do with online reviews. So a lot of people send people straight to Wedding Wire or something like that to post reviews. I send them through my feedback first, because I want to have good people on Wedding Wire. Occasionally, people have some critical feedback. I want that feedback. I don't want the rest of the world having that feedback. So if they are tagged with positive, these are the 3 you're seeing now. This is what happens next. Which, by the way, when they fill that out, they're out of the nag sequence.
Mm-hmm.
So if they fill out positive, they get an email that invites them to post their review elsewhere. It thanks them, and it gives them 2 different places to post the review. Links to Wedding Wire or Google reviews or Facebook reviews or whatever. And by the way, this little magical HTTP post is what sends their Starbucks card, so we aren't manually doing that either.
Oh, nice.
And then that finishes that. If they are neutral, which still, by the way, some of those options were satisfied, but I only want like the rock star feedback going online. Then it's going to send them an email that just says thank you and your gift is on the way. No links to go review us elsewhere. And it sends their gift. Negative, it sends a very carefully worded email, so we don't sound arrogant, because they had a bad experience. And it says, well, it sounds like we may have missed the mark. I hope that you'll give us a chance to make it up in the future. And it also sends their gift. So we treat people differently based on what they do.
Certainly.
And the last little thing, if you're looking down there, is if they check that box for a callback, this is what's physically creating that on someone's calendar.
Very nice.
So there you go. Let's see if I can stop sharing. There we go. That's inside the system, kind of what you can do, which probably either just confused people a lot or gave them some neat things to put in place of their business.
I think just understanding the capability of it, and for those who aren't doing virtually anything for automation, this is higher end automation that we just looked at. but there's capabilities out there within some of the online DJ planning systems that are out there that can get you started. And then you can kind of, as you're getting more comfortable with the concept and the idea, and the reply emails coming in and saying, "Hey, John, thanks for the email. I do have a question." You're like, "What?"
Yeah, it's great. It's good stuff.
It's good stuff. And you're like, "I don't remember sending you any." And then I go back and I search through, and it's like, well, my computer didn't send it. Oh, wait. The online planner sent an email saying,
Yeah. I mean, the biggest downfall is it's like Legos. There's nothing there in the software when you start. And it can do, I haven't been stumped yet. There's always some way to do whatever you want. Sometimes it involves a third-party software or a connection to something else. But it's limitless what you can actually implement. But the problem is you're starting at scratch in this. Industry-specific programs, you have some things built already for you, some common things for DJs. But you don't have that power of doing whatever you want. You're kind of confined by it. So that's the trade-off between, a major tool like Infusionsoft versus an industry-specific one. And we ran both in different areas of our company.
Yeah, there's places for both. That's for sure, and it depends on what you're doing. But what's cool about something like the Infusionsoft system, and there are others out there similar to that, and I've got a couple of them that are trying to make sales pitches to us. Oh, we see you use Infusionsoft, so hey, come and use our system.
There's a lot of we are not Infusionsoft sales pitches going, which makes you think, what if you did that? Yeah. We are not XYZ DJ company. That's why you should hire us.
Yeah, you definitely see that. But the systems can be utilized in so many different ways, and if you have multiple businesses, they can be utilized in those different business realms and really help you automate sales in DJ and other areas.
Yeah, we ran everything out of one app, and when I sold my company, Infusionsoft was the placed because I knew where I was going with it and I knew what it could do. Which those of you wondering, I do sell it. I'm a certified partner. I'm not a staff member. I'm a certified partner, which means I sell and service the software. So like when a DJ buys from me, I can go in there and load things that I already had, and they don't have to build it from scratch.
And probably the biggest thing, as someone who has been using it for almost 2 years now and learning a little bit about it, is being able to have someone that you can ask questions of. I mean, that's something that you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, how can I do it? And it's much easier to.
Yeah, they're pushing a lot through partners now because of that. Because when you come in, you have questions specific to your industry. And frontline tech support, I mean, those of you that don't know, this is a huge company. They're like 500 plus employees. Their goal is to be the QuickBooks of marketing automation software. So yeah, when you ask tech support something specific to your industry, they really don't, have a clue. They can help you with technical, but that's why they're pushing through partners, is we can help a lot more with strategic use of the software.
And that would have actually been very beneficial when we were first learning how to use it, is that I paid for the teaching classes that excuse me, they offered to get you up and running, the kickstart, whatever they called it. And the person was very helpful and very knowledgeable, but didn't know the business in which I was trying to do. So it would be, okay, I'm explaining, we have an hour for today and I'm explaining what I need and that's what I want to do. Well, first then she had to find out about the business because she just didn't have a concept of how the DJ industry worked.
Yeah. So partners fulfill on that too now, by the way. It all depends where you buy the software from, those of you listening. If you're considering something like this, you can go to Infusionsoft.com and buy, and you will be put through that process that John is talking about. Or you can come to a certified partner like me and we give you the same pricing and can serve you in a different manner.
Yeah, precisely, more of a niche service and such. We're just about out of time here today, Justin. If people want to get in touch with you, questions, inquire about purchasing Infusionsoft and implementing it into their business, what's the best way for them to do that?
So isn't this funny? I always actually behind the scenes set up an Infusionsoft link for you, and today I do not have one set up. So you can email me, justin@profit911.biz, or you can just find me on Facebook. If you search Justin Miller and you're a DJ or photo booth person, I'll probably come up in the first one or two, and you can message me on there. And then I will send you a link to schedule a time with me, and we'll spend an hour diving into your goals and your business, all free of charge, and see what might be the right way to go forward.
Justin@profit911.biz, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just entering that into the chat here so you guys can see that, or not the chat, I'll put it in the chat too. But it's in the descriptions and such. Oh, you know what? It's not going to let me do that because...
Hey, or you can go on the DJ and photo booth cruise. I'll be there, and I'll be happy to talk to you.
Very nice.
Until my wife says you're working too much,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
we will stop talking
Let's go
about
up to the-
fun Infusionsoft stuff.
Let's go to the other deck where these DJs aren't asking you all these questions. Okay. Yes, honey. No, I can't put it in the YouTube chat, so you guys will have to go into the description and catch it there. So, neat stuff. I've motivated to go and tweak a few things here today on my.
If you happen to be a customer like John and you're kind of lost, reach out to me as well, because I can still be added as a partner to your account, and I can take a look around and help you out with it.
Oh, very nice. Very, very nice. Yeah, that would be a very beneficial thing. As again, having someone who does it and does it daily or more frequently than most of us who, okay, we got it set up and then we leave it alone for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I'm living it right now. So those of you that don't know, into first quarter this year, I sold my DJ and photo booth business, and all I do now is marketing strategy and automation consulting. So all my Facebook groups right now are people that are like really in the thick of marketing automation. It's crazy.
Yeah. And
but it's really fun.
Definitely an area in which we're entertainers. We're not probably the greatest businessmen. So having people who are into these different areas that could do that, and I can say, here, Justin, help me put this together, and it happens, it's done, and then I can focus on what I'm really good at, which is performing and doing weddings.
Yeah. Or focusing where your efforts are best used. So, if you're a little company, you still have to do the sales, but I would prefer you to spend your time where it's best utilized and automate where you can, or outsource too.
Yeah, that's for sure. Great. Thank you guys for being with us on Facebook or YouTube this morning. I think we, cost. I'm not even sure what is Infusionsoft running now.
Depends on what package, and they keep playing with pricing right now. So it's gotten cheaper. So John might not like to hear this.
Well, maybe I better hit the mute.
But packages right now are between $99 and $299 a month. Occasionally there are promos beyond that, so you'll have to contact me on that because sometimes I'm authorized to do things that are not on their website. And then there is some upfront cost to get you kickstarted, as John went through as well, and get you set up.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't want to hear that.
Hey, I was a customer for 8 years before I became a partner and learned that. But yeah, the $99 a month is brand new in the past few months, and it's real cool because I used to not recommend Infusionsoft for DJ businesses doing under 100,000 a year, and now I do because I believe that that's within the realm of payback for any size DJ company.
Yeah, definitely. Just even within that, I don't do that many weddings and such anymore, but I could see at $99, and that's not what I'm paying, by the way. I'm paying much more than that per month.
Me too.
But that's it definitely would be something. Somebody's asking about a trial version.
They had a promo last month where the first couple months were free. Contact me. I'll see what's out there right now. Rarely is there a free trial on it, though. Sometimes there's a couple months free with a year or something like that.
Yeah, and that could be. I think I've seen that type of a thing. But having a trial version, like you get it for 30 days, and
and the problem is that this is not like off the shelf stuff that you start running. We have to build out anyway. So your first month or two is going to be consumed with me and you building that out.
Yeah, it takes time. I mean, when you've got, as we were talking earlier about a system, no matter where you're using it, if you've got a contact where their information comes in, then there's an email day 1, day 5, day 15, day 30. Well, there's your first month. And they haven't even gotten maybe your last email in that sequence, and that last email might be the one that they all of a sudden it's like book, and you're like, wow, it did.
Yeah,
work.
I shortcut everything as much as we can for you, but there's still some involved in getting up and running.
Yeah, so it'll definitely check and see if there's any other questions. I think we are good with that. Once again, thank you guys for being with us, and we will be back tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern with this will be our DJ Expo gear preview show. We've got lots of the new gear. They've sent in information and such and things we can't talk about until tonight. And we're going to be debuting a lot of cool stuff on the show. So catch us then. The links, you can find those on DJNTV, the Facebook page, or you can follow my own Facebook page at johnyoungmn on Facebook. And we'll have the links up for those shows later today. Justin, thank you for being on today.
Thanks. Have a great week, everyone.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.